Hey, welcome into a brand new chapter of Old Man Brad. Whether you are new here or returning for another episode, thank you so much for giving me a listen. And if you love the show, drop me a review over on your favorite podcatcher, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Good Pods, wherever you listen to the show. I would love to hear what you think. This chapter, I have quite a fun movie to talk about. This week, I'm talking about Late Night with the Devil, starring David Dastmalchian. I'm excited to dig into that. But before we do, I want to talk about a little news that came out this week in the horror world. As you know, last year we got Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. I was one of the probably few that enjoyed the film when I went to see it. You can go listen to my friend Brett from Dissect That Film and I talk about it over on his show. Next week, we are getting Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2. So watch for an episode of Old Man Brad. My wife is going to go see it with me. She went to see the first one with me, hated it, but she's going to go see the second. And we got news of the Twisted Childhood universe. So we not only have the two Winnie the Pooh movies, there is Bambi the Reckoning coming, Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare, Pinocchio Unstrung, and it's all going to end next year with Pooniverse, Monsters Assemble. So they're creating like an Avengers-style universe with these characters, and I think it is hilarious, and I am 100% in on this. There's been a lot of people dogging on it, and you know what? Just go have fun. Like, for real. I get that you hate that they're doing this to this childhood properties. Go have fun with it, people. Like, for real. Obviously, people haven't gone through Tubi and seen what kind of movies are on there. Otherwise, you know, these films fit in with a lot of that. So, yes, I'm excited for Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, and the rest of the Pooniverse. I cannot wait. People of Cincinnati, head out to the Esquire on the third Friday of the month for Frightful Fridays. Just recently, we had a screening of Leprechaun there. And next month in April, we are going to have a screening of 1994's Brain Scan, starring Edward Furlong. This is hitting its 30th anniversary. I am a fan of the film. Looking forward to seeing it on the big screen. Come out to the Esquire April 19th. It's going to be a blast. All right, enough of that rambling. Let's talk Late Night with the Devil.
We are back in 5, 4.
Now, here's Mr. Midnight, Jack Delroy!
Oh, good evening, night owls, and thank you for allowing me into your living rooms once again. Well, night owls, we've got a heck of a show in store for you tonight, and I'm very excited for you to see it all unfold before your very eyes. I really hope you love it. Gosh, I hope you love it. Please love it. Love it.
I'm trying to host a nationally syndicated talk show.
And I'm trying to help you keep it on the air.
We all know how important it is to keep our sponsors and affiliates happy, but in my humble opinion, there is only one person who really matters in this whole darn crazy business. And that is you, our viewer.
You're meddling with things you don't understand.
Whoa! Now, as you know, here on Night Owls, we think it's very important to keep an open mind. Please welcome Dr. June Ross Mitchell and Lily, the young subject of the book, Conversations with the Devil.
I really don't think it's a good idea, Jack. She's becoming more unpredictable.
That's a good thing. That's why we still do live TV.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stay tuned for a live television first as we attempt to commune with the devil.
A live television broadcast in 1977 goes horribly wrong, unleashing evil into the nation's living rooms. Late Night with the Devil, it is written and directed by Cameron and Colin Carnes. It stars David Dastmalchian, Laura Gordon, Ian Bliss, Faisal Bazi, Ingrid Torelli, Reese Autry, and so many more. This is one of the movies this year, one of the horror movies this year I was most excited to see. Really looking forward to it. And I'm just going to tell you, it did not disappoint at all. I was given a screener from IFC to watch this, and I have watched it twice. The first time I watched it, I was like, okay, I'm into this. I love it. It's this big, real lead up to this ending. And the second time I watched it, I just watched it last night again, and I think I love it. It kept me engaged. Even the second time, I was hooked in. I was engaged. Before we dig into it, I may dip into a few spoilers. I'm going to try to kind of keep it as spoiler-free as possible, just to let you know in case I kind of hit one. What I love about this movie, not only it's this television broadcast from 1977. They found the master tape to this show that only screened once, and we're getting it. But I love how it's crafted. This is kind of like it starts off almost like a History Channel type of thing, where you're getting a little bit of background about David's character, Jack Delroy, and his rise in the late night world. He started this show earlier in the 70s, and a talk show that really took off. He's kind of competing with Johnny Carson. The setup of this movie, they did a great job of giving you that old 70s feel to the show, like his show Night Owls. It was just, they not only got the look of it, that old television look. Like when you're watching it, it'll go back and forth from like a widescreen 16:9 to a 4:3. And as you're watching the show from 1977, you're in the 4:3 television ratio. They have it all colored like it's old. And this is their special Halloween episode. It's Sweeps Week. They're trying to get good ratings because his contract is almost up. He just can't beat Johnny Carson. He's just struggling to kind of like peak as a late night talk show host. What better way to do it than bringing on paranormal people? His first guest, Christou, is one of those people that he feels the energy and can read minds and, talk to the other side. So he starts saying names and talking to people, the guests. Something eventually happens to him. A big spirit, I'm putting it up in quotes, kind of comes into him. So you're kind of wondering, okay, is this all fake? Is this like something really happening to him? What's going on? And then you have another character, Carmichael, who is a magician, but he is now, his whole role is disproving all these paranormal people of being frauds and fakes and everything else. And then the last one, you have Dr. June and her person that she wrote a book about, Lily, who was basically possessed. So they're the big hunks of this story. I'll tell you, Ingrid Torelli, who plays Lily, is fantastic in it. She has this creepy look to her. Like when they come on screen, like she's just smiling and she stares at the camera. She has this awkwardness because, she's on TV. She's a young girl coming on TV. So she's staring at the camera as things start to happen. When she goes from, this happy girl to this possessed demon, like she does a fantastic job. And the one thing that I'm not like a big fan of with this movie is the possession stuff isn't really anything super new that you've seen before. Because when she gets possessed, she has like cuts on her face, her eyes change color, and almost like the Exorcist, where she kind of starts talking a little dirtier than a girl should. Like she's like, Jack and Jill go up the hill and they fuck and all this stuff, where she keeps going off and they're trying to get her out of this trance. And the whole time, obviously the character Carmichael isn't believing what is going on. He's like, this is completely fake. This is false. This whole thing is set up and I'll prove it to you. So he goes through this whole thing where he hypnotizes someone, and the scene is so cool. It's there's some practical effects in this movie that are awesome. There's a scene that, to me, it felt almost like it was a slight nod to Scanners. The character Gus, he kind of looks if anyone has seen Scanners, there's a scene, a news broadcast, where the Scanners get into his head and his head explodes. If you're into horror, you've probably seen the scene. Even if you haven't seen the movie, you've seen the scene of this guy sitting at a news desk and his head explodes. This character Gus has a similar look to that guy that the head explodes in Scanners. And there's a scene with this guy that something happens to his head. It doesn't explode, but there are some practical effects. The first thing I thought when it happened, I thought of Scanners. And Michael Ironside at the beginning of the movie, he does a voiceover, kind of like the History Channel, about Jack Delroy and his wife. His wife passed away of cancer a year before this Halloween special. Michael Ironside is the narrator of this story, telling Jack Delroy's story of the Night Owl show and everything else. And he was the main scanner in Scanners that makes the guy's head explode. So when I saw the scene, the first thing I thought of was Scanners. And then seeing that Michael Ironside did the voiceover, it just kind of like put it together. You can see a lot of influences throughout this movie of like The Exorcist, Scanners, as I just said. I mean, it happens in horror a lot. I mean, everyone is influenced by everyone. There's so many different horror movies out there that it's hard not to be influenced by somebody. But anyway, so you get this great scene of practical effects. Carmichael is proving that it's, you can fool people, and then the real shit happens. And I'm not going to give away what the end is and what happens right after that, but it's pretty cool too. Like the whole build up to this film, you get a lot of build up. You get this story and you're just like, oh man, this is like watching a late night show. I'm into watching the show. In commercial breaks, it will cut to the behind the scenes. It goes to black and white and you're behind the scenes of what's happening with the show before you kind of come back and it goes to that actual broadcast is what you're watching. The technicality of the show is so good. It reminds me of the WNUF Halloween special. It's kind of like that similar type of thing where it's a live broadcast. Some people reminds them of Ghost Watch. It's a movie. I've never seen Ghost Watch, but I put it on my list to check out. Kind of does a similar type of thing of like a live broadcasted show. I also thought of The Cleansing Hour, if anyone has ever seen that on Shudder, but it's instead of a live show, it's a web series. So they're doing a webcast during a possession. There's some stuff in here that's not necessarily original. There's things that you have seen before that have happened before, but it is crafted very well. David Dastmalchian is so good as Jack Delroy. He's playing this character of like, basically, how far would you go for fame? He's trying to get the biggest show ever out there. He wants this show to be huge, so he'll do whatever it takes to make it big, not listening to others of like, you don't know what you're getting into, what's going to happen, this could be bad, and he continues on, but to what cost? What will he have to pay in order for this to happen? And all the answers to what will he have to pay for this to happen will get answered at the end. There are some scenes talk at the beginning of this other cult in this dark group. It's a men's group in the woods outside of where this takes place, and Jack Delroy is a member of this, and some of that stuff kind of comes back here and there. I want to see that story. The story of Jack Delroy and this group of men and the dark things that they do out in the woods. Like, I want to see more of that story. I want to hear more of that story. He kind of dips into it just a little bit here and there, but I want more. Overall, I love this movie. Like I said, I've seen it twice. It's getting it a solid 4 out of 5. Could bump to 4.5. After my second watch last night, almost moved it to 4.5. You'll probably see this on a list at the end of the year. I'm just going to say that. Like, I just genuinely liked it. I love this story of how far will you go for fame and at what cost in this horror. I mean, it's got practical effects. There is some CG that's a couple CG parts that are a little wonky, but most of the effects are practical. It's just so good. Go check out Late Night with the Devil. It's hitting theaters this Friday. It'll be streaming on Shudder, I think in April or May. But watch for it if you can't make it to the theater or go to the theater. I think I might go to the theater and go watch it again just to see it on a big screen. But yes, Late Night with the Devil, absolute recommend from me. Well, as I head out, it is Horror Hound week. I will be heading to Horror Hound this Friday. So if you see Old Man Brad out there, say hi. I have one film that you should check out at home on my way out, and that is stop motion. I just rented it the other night, and this was one I wanted to see in the theaters and didn't get a chance to make it. It kind of came and went pretty fast, and I didn't get a chance to see it. But this is another, it's just dark. It's twisted. You have some stop motion animation, and the animation in it, the characters, how they look, they're just like dirty and gross, and it just really sets the tone and feel of this twisted movie that I really enjoyed. There are some parts I wanted a little more to it, but overall, really enjoyed the movie and would recommend renting stop motion. Well, that will do it for another chapter of Old Man Brad. Just subscribe to the show and you'll never miss any chapter coming out. Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 2 coming next week with my wife. It's going to be amazing, let me tell you. Because I know her thoughts on the first one. I don't think they're going to get any better for the second. So here we go. Just snuggle up in that blanket, turn off the lights, because it's okay to be scared. We'll talk to you later, everybody.